Good morning to the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you all for the virtual session for the Career Guidance Program, AVENIR 2023.
The ongoing event, AVENIR, initiated its proceeding on the 7th of December with career talk sessions at Indian School Dasset.
The online career talk sessions are scheduled for today, 8th December, streaming from Indian School Dasset, followed by the Career Expo at Al Falaj Hotel.
The valedictory function will be held at Indian School Dasset on 9th December, followed by the Career Expo at Al Falaj Hotel.
We are delighted to extend a warm welcome to one and all for the AVENIR 2023, a forerunner in career guidance event which is meticulously organized by Indian School Dasset under the aegis of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. This invaluable event is a beacon of knowledge, resources, and expert guidance, carefully designed to illuminate the path towards future career choices. As we witness how education options are becoming increasingly intricate, making informed decision about one's career journey is ever challenging.
AVENIR 2023 seeks to address these challenges by offering a comprehensive platform filled with insights, information, and expert advice on various university courses and services. What's next? A question that we ponder upon as we embrace ourselves to explore a sea of options that lie ahead of us. It is a question that opens the avenues for a plethora of opportunities in specific fields. When we embark on this journey of finding our true interest and pursuing our goals, AVENIR steps in, guiding and inspiring students as they prepare for change, transition, growth, and realization of their aspirations. Ms. Nisha Abdulla, the speaker for the session, is here to give us a brand new perspective on new categories in the field of performing arts. A spark of information is good enough to light up our future. Let's listen to the expert talks where students and parents alike can equip themselves with the insights shared by our experts today. Make wise career decisions with the impeccable experiences gathered and shared by our expert speakers.
Miss Nisha Abdulla is a Bangalore-based theatre maker practicing as a playwright, director, dramaturg, and educator. Her anti-oppressive arts practice places care, curiosity, and community at the core of the creation process. Nisha is particularly invested in exploring the interplay of identity, belonging, power gaze in the contemporary socio-political context. She is the artistic director of Qabila, where her work centers new dissenting imagination, and founder member of Offstream, an artistic collective that makes and enables creative projects around anti-caste advocacy. Nisha also teaches at schools and universities. She teaches as guest faculty at Drama School Mumbai, Azim Premji University Bangalore, and Nalsa University of Law Hyderabad. Schools she has worked in the past include DPS School, Shivananda School, Bangalore International School, Nation Public School, Coorg Public School, amongst others. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pooja, Rida, and Esther Diana, and indeed all of you for signing in. Thank you for showcasing the performing arts as a viable career path and as an opportunity that students should be encouraged to take. I believe very firmly that the world, of course, will always have its scientists and its mathematicians. It will always have placed importance on these subjects, but the world needs more artists and storytellers and creators because the world is in a lot of pain and artists can help heal some of that. So with that invitation, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I do and maybe open out some possibilities for you in terms of what you might be interested in doing. So as Pooja was saying, I'm a theatre maker and I'm based out of Bangalore. Bangalore is my home base, but that doesn't mean that I can't take my plays elsewhere. And I'll talk to you about some of that in a bit. What does it mean to make plays? It means that you write plays. It means that you direct plays. It means that you take it to audiences one after the other, either at performing venues or at different kinds of community spaces or at festivals. It means that you work with a bunch of artists, a group of artists who join with you to realize this vision that you have. So you have an idea that you want to nurture into a story. You take that idea, you make it into a story, you make it into a script, and then you introduce that script to another bunch of actors and performers, and they come on to taking that script forward with you. And then you present that to the world. That's really what making a play and putting it up on stage is all about. Now, the stage has its own histories and legacies, very, very different and much more ancient than that of the screen. I know that when I talk about the stage, often there is a tendency to conflate the screen and the stage. Today, it feels like that is, the case, because many performers and technicians who work on the stage also work in the movies or on screen. But that hasn't always been the case. The stage has a history all on its own. It has a legacy all of its own. And it goes back literally thousands of years. India itself has a very rich and very varied theatre making tradition. All parts of our country have a very different theatre making tradition. There's puppets, there's masks, there's scripted theatre. There's a lot of politics in our theatre. It encourages people to think independently. And so all of this goes into the theatre that I make as well. I draw from a legacy which is contemporary, and I make my theatre in a very urban context. So I'll be speaking more from that context, but please know that there are many different traditions to draw from. So I'll spend a little time speaking about the roles that that you will find in the theatre, and what are the skills that you need to develop to be able to play some of these roles, and what are the ways in which you can learn these skills, and what kind of a career path can it possibly give you. So if you want to write play scripts, then you become, of course, a playwright. Now, a playwright is someone who will nurture an idea and will develop it into a script. Often the playwright works with other performers in developing the script also. If you want to be a writer, or if you want to be a playwright, it's very important that you develop an independent mind of your own. You must engage with the world around you. You must observe the world around you. You must listen to everything that is going on in the world around you. You need to be able to ask questions as to why things are the way they are. You need to be able to research about the histories of a particular place or a particular people, a particular culture. Then only you will be able to write about it. Now, the playwright is someone who is central to the play-making process. But in contemporary theatre, you will see that there are many kinds of plays. It's possible that there is no text, and there is instead a movement, or there is music. So it is possible that there is no text in the theatre, but largely, even today, you will find that text plays an important role. Playwriting is very different from screenwriting. These are two different forms. In the theatre, there is a possibility to suspend realism very beautifully. It's almost like magic. On the screen, it's a very different reality. It's more rooted in realism, not always, but more rooted in realism. So these are two different forms of writing. The way in which we treat characters and conflict is very different. So the craft of writing that you have to develop for playwriting is very different from screenwriting or script writing. So that is the playwright's skills. What about the director? Now, the director is someone who shapes ideas or texts or actors or collaborators into a particular larger vision. Now, it's important that you have, as a director, that you have a larger vision for what goes on stage, which means you need to be good with image making. What kind of images do you want to put on stage? Where do you want to put people and how? What are the colors you want to put on stage? What are the different kinds of movement that you will put on stage? How does light play a role in telling your story? What kind of role does sound play a role? The director is someone who thinks about all of these aspects and shapes it bit by bit, and presents it to the audience. So the director is someone who really must develop a skill of thinking in images. That's very important. The director is someone who collaborates with multiple different kinds of artists, actors and lighting designers and sound designers and costume designers, production managers, set designers. So the director is someone who must be able to work with a lot of different kinds of people, with a lot of different artists who are part of the play team. A director is also someone who must be very good with their communication, because it is the director's vision that the rest of the team is helping to realize. So it's important that the director is able to work well with others as well in the team. So that's the role of the director. Now, both the playwright and direction, these are both skills that you can learn either on the job, or you can be in residencies, what are called residencies, or you can be under mentorship programs with seniors who will teach you, or you can be in an institutional program like a 1-year or a 2-year program where you learn from teachers in a university context. So it's very important to remember that in the arts, it's not necessary that you derive your learning only from institutes. I myself do not have an institutional background. I learned under mentorship programs and residencies. So it's very important that you open your mind out to these possibilities also. It is in staying in practice. It is by doing and constantly practicing that you become better. Of course, having an institutional background helps, but please remember it is not necessary. A lot of the institutions that offer a good arts program, a good theater making program, can be expensive. So if that is something that is bothering you, if that is something that is not something your family can afford at the moment, you don't have to worry. Remember, there are many ways to learn how to be an artist. So these are our two main things, the playwright and the director. But the director also works with a lot of different technicians as well, without whom a play cannot be made. So for instance, there is the lighting designer. Now, what does a lighting designer do? The lighting designer works with the director, to paint a particular image of what is going on stage. The lighting designer draws your attention to certain things that are going on stage. What is happening behind, what is happening in front. It lights up the actors. It allows us to focus our attention on that part of the stage where the action is going on. So the lighting designer plays a very important role. This lighting designer, again, there are courses that can help you, that can teach you the basics of lighting design. But the best way to learn really is by jumping into a production and learning on the job. Similarly, there is also a sound designer. The sound that you hear when a play is being staged. There's a lot of thought and a lot of consideration that is paid to what is that music or what is that sound that is going to be played at that point in time. Now, this sound designer works with the director to develop the sound of the play, to develop what the narrative sound-wise is of the play. Each play will have a score, it will have ambient sound, it will have original sound. All of this is something that the sound designer does with the director. Again, the sound designer is someone who could be trained as a musician, or could be someone who has self-taught themselves how to create sound in digital sounds. I work with a lot of people who do both. They play instruments as well, they're trained in music, and they also create digital sounds. So the more different kinds of sounds that you play with, the more would be your utility to the director in the theater. Similarly, there are other roles. There are people who do costume designing. Now, if you're someone who's interested in fabric and presentation, if you're interested in fashion, and if you're interested in how people look, and to shape the way in which a character or an actor is portrayed using costume, then costume design is a great way to go ahead. It's great fun. You get to mess around and explore a lot of different kinds of looks. If your play is something that allows you to explore futuristic looks, then you can create that. If your play is something that is set in the past, then you can mess around with more retro looks. It of course includes hair and makeup. It's great fun to be able to work with actors to create specific kinds of looks. And remember, this is on the stage, so the way in which a look is presented is quite different from that of on screen. On stage, you can create many fantastical looks. You can create actors who are playing different roles in the same play. So the same actor will need to be hidden and given a different look in a different scene. So it's a very challenging job. And if you're keen on fashion or fabric, then this is something that you could look at. There's also set and prop design. Now, this is something that I enjoy very, very much. Prop design is basically, objects and things that you use as actors in the play. These are designers who work on these objects. So, for instance, you might have a scene where, the cake glows in the dark, and so you have to create a prop like that. Or you might have a sword that falls apart in the middle of a fight scene, then you must make a sword like that. So it's great fun to be able to, again, tinker around with different kinds of metals and different kind of materials to be able to create things that help you tell a story. So you have prop designers, you have set designers. Now, how do you create a fantastical world? Or how do you create a realistic world? Or how do you create a world that is, say, set, about a war? Or how is it that you create a world that is set in, say, the future, maybe on a spaceship? So these are all different spaces that your play might be set in. And a set designer helps you create the set, the background, the furniture and the fixtures that go into creating that world on stage. So as a set designer, you would then be working with a lot of different kinds of product designing is something that you might be interested in. That could lead you into the theater as a set designer. So these are all roles that one plays in the theater. And if you find yourself interested in creating anything to do with working with hands, anything to do with bringing ideas, any visuals that you have in your mind, if you have a lot of fun, if you take a lot of pride in realizing that vision that you have of something that you're making onto stage, if that's the kind of thing that you like to do, then the theater is a world that you could look at. I also want to spend some time talking about the what we call applied theater. So one of the things I do is, of course, I make plays, but the other thing that I do is what is called applied theater, which means because I am someone who understands plays and who works with play scripts, I also use theater as a way to teach. So applied theater is basically when I'm able to use the theater to teach other things like, say, communication, social justice, gender sexuality, constitutional values. So theater becomes a tool to learn other things. So this is something that I do a lot. I work with people across age groups, children such as yourself, many university students as well, many learners who are senior. I use the theater, I use play scripts, and I use dramatic tools to teach different kinds of learners. They could be wanting to learn about climate change, in which case I could use plays about climate change and then use the body and expression and movement and music and puppets and masks to be able to learn about climate change. So there is something called applied theater, which is something you should look up as well, where it's not just about making theater and making plays, but it's also about using the tools of drama to be able to teach other things. So that is something called applied theater. Now this is the basic bit that I wanted to share with you. But all of this apart, one thing that is really important to mention is that you don't need institutional training to become an artist. What you need is, like I said, an independent thinking mind. And to develop that, what is most important is that you read, is that you listen, you watch the world around you. That is what is most critical. But if you're interested in institutions, in India, there are a couple of institutions that you can look up. You can look up, of course, NSD, the National School of Drama. You can look up DSM, which is the Drama School Drama School Mumbai. That is where I have taught as well. It is a private institution, so it's different from NSD, which is a government institution, but they are both viable options for you if you want to explore the world of theatre. There is also the Thrissur School of Drama, which is in Thrissur. Again, a beautiful, very well credible establishment. That is something you could look at as well. There are many scholarships as well that you can look at if you want to go abroad. There is the INLAC scholarship, there is Charles Wallace, there is also Shivning. So there are multiple such. There are also institutes which have their own scholarships, which they provide to South Asian students. I'm going to close my bit here right on time, I see. This is the theatre and the arts and the performing arts in a nutshell. I look forward to your questions, and I also want to sort of say in conclusion that thank you to the school for including the performing arts in this bouquet of options that you've provided to the students. Thank you.
Ma'am, how has the landscape of performing arts changed with advancements in technology and digital platforms?
That's an excellent question. So what we see a lot in the last decade, maybe more, is that there's a lot of use of projections and digital technology on stage. It's a very exciting space to look at. There is also what we see more participatory forms of theatre, where because we are able to use more digital technology, we are able to invite audiences to participate in different ways. So for instance, there was a show that I was at in Munich a couple of years ago, where every time the character had to decide on something important in their life, the audience would have to vote on a digital pad, and the votes would be shown live on stage, and the narrative would build accordingly. So even the actors didn't know when they started the play how they would end the play, So there is a lot of use of technology in the theater that we see already. There is also the use of digital theater. I've myself explored this in a play that I've done last year, so it's an exciting space. How do you bring the theater on screen, on a digital screen in front of you, just on your laptop or on your phone? Now, that is something that some artists are interested in and they're exploring. There's also a lot of scope for audio plays. Audio as a medium is exciting and quite underdeveloped, in my opinion. So there is a lot of interest in bringing back audio plays, from the days of radio, and to kind of contemporize it. So that's an interesting question you ask. Watch out for things like National Theatre at Home. Now, National Theatre is a theatre in UK, in London. They have a wonderful at-home theatre, digital theatre program where you can subscribe to watching theatre at home. Now, that is something that I would encourage if you're interested in the theatre, because you get to see world-class theatre on a screen in front of you. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. With the influence of social media, where everyone wants to showcase their talent, how can a unique talent survive in this field?
That is also a great question. Sometimes it feels like all of us are performing all the time, doesn't it? On social media. I have to say that there is a difference between perfecting your craft, between shaping your craft with diligence, with discipline, and with rigor. There is a difference between doing that and between wanting to be an influencer or wanting to be the next trendy thing that'll die out after 15 seconds of fame. I'm urging you as students to push towards the discipline, to push towards the rigor. Develop your craft. The success and the 15 minutes of fame, it wouldn't matter when you're trying to develop your craft. Try to really get very good at what you're doing, whether it is performance or writing or costume designing or lighting designing or sound. It doesn't matter, but try to get really good at it. Work with people who know what they're doing. Talk to seniors who know what they're doing. Watch and read and experience a lot of different plays, as many as you can get your hands on. It doesn't matter whether people think they're good or bad, just go watch them. And then you will develop, like I said, an independent mind of your own. You will realize what you're drawn to. The more you stay on social media trying to become an influencer, I promise you, the less you will develop your craft. When you develop your craft, the rest will follow. I'm not saying social media is not important. It is important. It is an important tool to get your voice and to express yourself into the world's, into the world. It's very important. But don't be under the impression that that is the only thing that matters. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the little tricks that you have to perform, you will be done with it. And then what? You will have to rely on your skills, right? So develop the skills, because those will stay for life.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we as students get engaged in street plays to share different messages in our community. Would you suggest us some tips to enhance presentation of street plays?
That's another really good question. Do you know that one of the most respected street theater companies in the world is in India, and they're called Janam? That is Jana Natya Manch. Please look them up. You will find very good documentation about them. You will find videos about their work. So that is on a side note. But if you're interested in street theater, then I think what you must develop is an ability to use your body and your voice together. So develop your body to be able to express and emote. It's not just your voice that does the talking, it's also your body that does the talking. So learn to be able to shape your body, to discipline your body into how it can emote. Look up street theater artists and see how they do this, and learn from that, if that's all you have at the moment. Because learning by observing, learning by watching is a great way to do it. So that is one advice I would give. And the second is to take care of your voice. Develop your voice to be able to project it so that you don't damage it. When you work in open spaces, then you are constantly projecting your voice outward. Your voice as a performing artist, your voice is a great asset of yours. You must learn to protect it. So right from the beginning, when you now that you're young performers, right from the beginning, learn to take care of your body, your voice, so that it stays with you, even as you practice more and more and put more demands on it. It should be able to hold up to those demands, right? So that's something that I think you all could do.
Thank you, ma'am. What inspired to be you to become in this field? What inspired you to be in this field of performing arts?
Because I had so many stories to tell. I had so many stories to tell, and I wanted a place to be able to tell it, and the stage is that place. Also, I get to work with people. I'm someone who thrives in community. So if you throw me into a room and say, go write a play, you're alone, I will, open the door in 30 days and you better have a play at the end of it, I will just wither and die. But if you throw me into a community, into a room full of people, bustling with ideas, then that's where I thrive. So the theater is a place where that can happen. We're constantly throwing ideas at each other, exploring things on the floor. We're constantly challenging each other, saying that I can do that scene better. I can do this, this scene that is written by this great, writer. I can write it one better. We're constantly challenging each other into bettering our craft. So, the fact that I have stories to tell and that I have a great community of fellow artists with whom I can tell these stories, that's what makes the theater such an exciting place for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, in the world of big budget films, how drama survives?
By focusing on what people need at this moment, which is connection. The world is larger than a stage, but the largeness of the world can be brought down to a stage, and you can connect with the world via that stage. The world doesn't need more big budget Marvel films. The world will survive without that. But the world will not survive without connection that you form with people by doing something so simple like watching something together. When we think about the theater as artists of the theater, we think a lot about breath. When we breathe together in the same theater, and when we watch a play, a story unfold, then we are connected by that breath. We are connected by the fact that we are breathing and experiencing that story together. That connection you will not get when you're watching on a screen, cuddled up at home, inside your blanket. It is just you, one person, watching alone. It has its place, but it doesn't compare to the feeling of coming together to experience a story. You are experiencing, something that is put together by humans bit by bit. Every show, you start from scratch again. You don't shoot it and then can it and then keep it aside and then play it again, show after show. No, you start from scratch. So if I'm having, like today, I'm recovering from a fever. If I'm having, a slight temperature, I still go on stage, and that show will be a little different from the day after tomorrow, where it's my birthday and I'm really happy about the world. And the show that I do 2 months later will be different because maybe the world is different, and I'm sponging that energy. So each show is different. Each show starts from scratch, and we build that connection from scratch. Human beings are made for connection, not to be sitting behind a screen.
Thank you, ma'am. We are indeed delighted to have you with us today. Thank you for the valuable information, ma'am. We have a few. The constructive views and information that you shared with us today is quite beneficial, and we are sure that the students and parents had a fulfilling session. Hope you had a fruitful time. Thank you for your cooperation. This is Rida and Pooja signing off on behalf of Indian School Dasit for AVENIR 2023. Bye and have a great day.
Thank you, Rida. Thank you, Pooja.